also the source of the valves. The electrical insulation in the heart is connective tissue, as you can see there. When you are looking at the front of the heart, you can see these atria. These are called ears, auricles. And in between that is the pulmonary trunk. So it kind of, to some people, looks like an elephant with the ears up.
It does. Oh, it does look like an elephant. That's cool. An elephant. That's cool. That's funny.
Now, deep in here, you'll find the opening of the aorta. The pulmonary trunk does have quite a thick area to it, okay? But so does the aorta. Okay, let's compare the two.
Which one's the aorta?
Hang on just a minute. I'll get it straightened out. So right now, they don't look all that different. But as it goes on and the hearts become, or excuse me, the lungs become a low pressure area, this one will get more delicate. This one will get more robust because it's got to send blood to the whole body. Okay. But you can see that there's a nice thick wall there. It's got both smooth muscle and elastic connective tissue. You can see the lining of the blood vessel, which is the same as the lining in the heart. In the heart, it's called the endocardium. And in the blood vessels, do you remember the name? Endothelium. But it's the same simple squamous tissue. It's very active. It's constantly sending out chemical signals. Then you've got your connective tissue on the outside. And again, round and round and round muscle cells, smooth muscle cells interspersed with connective or elastic connective tissue. So that when the heart pumps a whole bunch of blood in here, the aorta kind of rebounds and moves that blood on down the way. When you have hardening of the arteries in older animals, and it doesn't rebound like that, that's what hardening of the arteries means. The elastic tissue gets saggy, okay, and doesn't give that added push.
So what happens when there's an aortic dissection?
Okay, aortic dissection is when there is a breakdown of the endothelium, and this is a high pressure tube, and so blood is pushed down in between the layers of that aorta.
My disorder makes it so I have to get an echocardiogram every year to make sure.
Well, don't get one of those. Don't get an aortic
Oh, I'm
dissection.
not gonna. But they want to make sure.
Say no,
that
just say
it's
no.
happening. Just say no.
Just say no. Okay, here is some tissue that's kind of left over. It's kind of rubbery. You can see rings there. So what do you think that is?
It looks like a trachea.
And it is a trachea.
Oh, that's
It is a
nice.
trachea. Okay. Not only looks like, but it is.
Cool.
Now we're looking at the back of the heart. There is a big sinus here that returns blood into the heart. Remember, there are about 3 different circulations in the body. The pulmonary circulation that just goes out to the lungs and comes back. The systemic circulation that goes out the aorta and comes back by the vena cavas. And then there's a cardiac circulation that goes just to the heart and back. So in humans, this vessel here is called the widowmaker.
Yeah, 'cause that clogs
Because-
your wife's widow.
When that gets clogged, it clogs the vessels that lead to the majority of the heart. Okay. Alrighty. So this is fatty tissue. Remember that the heart can use any kind of fuel. It can use carbohydrates, it can use fats. If it has to, it will even use protein. But it must always use oxygen.
Like what's its favorite, so to speak? What do you use most likely first?
Fatty acids, oddly enough, because for ounce to the pounce, you get more energy burning fats. Okay, as we open this up, this is the right side of the heart. These are called current jelly clots, and these occur while the animal is still pretty much alive and hasn't sat around. If you have clots that have got fibrin, they've got layers of the current jelly look and fibrin, those usually are postmortem. I'm just trying to clean out the last little bit here. And
So it only happens in postmortem?
the current jelly ones happen, at the time of death. The other ones occur where you've got a white layer and a red layer after the animal has lain on its side.
I guess it's not that bad for them.
I'm sorry?
I guess it's not that bad for them. Like,
Well, it just has time to separate out. The fibrin and the serum, the red blood cells settle down at the bottom, so they make this kind of clot, and the fibrin is on the top, so it makes that kind of white layer. Does that make sense? Versus this being all mixed up at life, okay? Alrighty, so again, this wall, and what kind of cells do we have here? Come on, guys, you know this. Myocardium, that is cardiac muscle cell, only place you find it in the body. You've got the lining, the endocardium. You've got the connective tissue covering, the epicardium on the heart, inside the heart. And once we're looking in here, this band that goes from the division between the right and left ventricles is called a moderator band. And that just gets an electrical signal over to the right side of the heart. It's just kind of a short circuit.
Is that where the node is?
We'll get to that in just a sec. Alrighty. The other thing you'll see in here are these delicate connective tissue valves that are held down by strings into the ventricle. You see those?
Heartstrings.
oh, that's cool.
And what are they called?
Heartstrings, that's cool.
They're called chordae, strings, heart tendonae, heartstrings, chordae tendonae. So they're actually named for what they look like.
Tell you I'm a heartstrings.
There we go. So we're over here on the right side. So how many of these leaflets do you think we will have on the right side of the heart? What valve is there between the atrium and the ventrum? Tricuspid. Okay. Remember, on the right side of the heart, you've got the right atrioventricular or the tricuspid valve. So there'll be 3 of them. So the blood comes back from the body in general by these vena cava, and it goes into the right atrium. And then right close to where this forceps is, with this vena cava, we've got some nodal tissue. What's that called? Do you remember? It's where the heart, sinoatrial node, exactly. And that's where the heartbeat starts. It runs through this atrial tissue by gap junctions. It gets down to this coronary band, and there's only one passageway from the atria to the ventricles, the bundle of His. It runs down this septum, okay, by the right and left bundle branch. It zips over here, and it starts the heart contracting from the apex up to the coronary band, okay? Remember, the ventricles have to contract to push blood in. Blood takes kind of a V passageway in both the right and the left ventricle. So it goes in, then the heart contracts from the bottom up, and it's pushed out on the right side into the pulmonary trunk. Again, it looks like the elephant, right?
It does. It's so cool.
Now, valves, we know that there are the valves that have the leaflets, but these are the semilunar valves. If I can find it. That are at the base of the pulmonary trunk and the aorta. They do not have cords, okay? But there they are. It's very delicate, hard to see. But I'll flip it off the end. You see it flip? It's just like a little cup. Okay? So when the heart begins to relax and blood wants to fall back into the heart, those cups open up and catch it, so that it only goes forward. And that's the whole purpose of valves in the heart, to keep the blood flowing one way. So it goes out to the lungs, comes back by the pulmonary veins that are carrying oxygenated blood, and then there are several pulmonary veins that go into the left side of the heart, but here we are in the left atrium. And now we're going to go through another valve. So we're over on the left-hand side. It's the valve between the atria and the ventricle. So we know it's going to be called the left AV valve, but what else do we call it?
Mitral
Mitral
or bicuspid?
bicuspid. Remember, there's a rat on the right side of the heart and a lamb on the left. Okay, a little bit more of the clot out. But you can see, sorry, you can see those valves, the leaflets, and the chordae tendineae quite well. Okay, now we're going to exit the heart finally. Okay. And we're going to go out what vessel? The aorta. Okay. The aorta. So again, we've got quite a significant vessel there. All right, now at the base of the aorta, I don't know if you can see them, but you have the same semilunar valves that you do at the base of the pulmonary trunk. So that makes sense, right? The blood is going to try to fall back into the heart when the heart relaxes, but we want something to stop it. Yes, ma'am?
When you have a heart murmur, is it those lunar valves that are failing?
A heart murmur is caused by any turbulent blood flow from any cause. So if you get backflow, you've got a crummy mitral valve, it'll give you a heart murmur. If you've got a very narrow opening into the pulmonary trunk, you get a heart murmur. So the question is, where is the heart murmur? It depends.